next time you meet me in Gate City. Oh, Cody Pope. I know Cody Pope.
Our friend is Cody and we not having a good day.
Smack dab in the middle of all that. That was beautifully said. And I love that you said when you have a microphone in hand. And we were able to do it.
It's about just showing up.
What up, world? Welcome back to another episode of Cody Central. I am so happy to be here. I'm so happy you guys are here. Shout out to Megan, who was the first one in the chat tonight. Shout out to everybody that's jumping in, though. I'll jump off right away. I'll say it a few times tonight. I'm so sorry that we missed last week's episode. The guest that I had scheduled literally had to cancel less than 2 hours before the episode. And I really didn't want to bring you guys a half-ass interview after I had put so much into preparing for that one. So in a rare moment of weakness, we took a week off, but I think it was for the best. And hopefully we're going to keep our momentum up this week. I'm super excited about tonight's show. And with that said, welcome back, welcome home, welcome for the first time. If it's your first time, please know that every night here is just a little bit different and a little bit unique based on who we're talking to, but we're always going to have ourselves a wild night. So thank you for sharing your time with us. Let's lock in. Let us know what city and state you're watching from in the comments. And I'm going to jump this thing off by sending a huge thank you to the second sponsor of the Cody Central program. That is my dear friend Angela, who runs Photography by Ann Rova. She was the second person to ever come and support the podcast. And so I've been making it a point to try and plug her during it. And so I just want to show you a little bit about her photography. And if you want to know more about what she has to offer, her contact info is going to be right in here as well. Check this out. You guys check out her website, check out her Instagram. She has awesome concert photography. She does awesome event photography. She'll do all sorts of stuff. She's got a super unique style. So huge thanks to Photography by Ann Rova for sticking with the show. And let's get some music going and let's get into some of the stuff that I've been getting into this week. So our music of the week, let's start with that because music of the week actually turned out to be pretty good. So it was a super nice surprise when I am commuting to and from work. That's obviously the best place to use streaming if you're going to. And so I'll go on Spotify and look at the release radar sometimes just to see if there's like new records that have come out. And to my surprise, new Billy Woods album came out this week. And so Billy Woods is the ferociously private yet artistically vulnerable and honest lyricist musician from New York City who just released his latest album, Gollywog. So far from listening to it, it's an outstanding body of work, spotlighting his creative accents like his use of hard, choppy drums. He has this low, nearly monotone vocal delivery. There's a super heavy soul and timbre and energy across the record. And he has a slew of phenomenal producer and lyricist features, including The Alchemist, Despot, LP, Kenny Siegel, and a ton of other artists. And so far it's a killer record. It's got a lot of tracks on it. So I think I got like a quarter of the way through so far. But really digging that. So I know for the next few days, I'm going to be jamming the new Billy Woods album. So check that out on streaming and at any record store that you go to. Movie of the week. All right, let's talk about movie of the week. So I have two on here, and the reason I have two is because I usually enjoy doing this segment, and if I had just kept it to one this week, I would have been kind of bummed, and here's why. So the movie that I watched this week was Heretic from 2024, directed by Scott Beck and Brian Woods. It's the E25 movie. So I honestly had super high expectations for this. I was like eagerly awaiting watching this movie. Like many people, I love A24 films for the most part. There's a certain brand you can trust kind of thing there. The casting seemed great. It looked like a really interesting character for Hugh Grant to play. The plot synopsis was interesting, but having that much enthusiasm about it was definitely to my detriment. It wasn't terrible by any means, but it left me feeling awfully disappointed. It builds up and it gets really, really interesting, and then somewhere it just seems to turn somewhere weird, and it just doesn't come back from it, and it just feels like it's pulling shit out of its ass a little bit. And I told my fiance, she fell asleep during it, and I was like, you have to watch it and let me know what you think, because I wanted so much to like it, and I just felt like I did not enjoy it. I do think I'm going to give it a second chance, but like so far, this was just a rare misstep in my like active wish list of movies to watch. So that was like 2.5 stars from me. But if you've seen it before and you feel differently, let me know in the comments, because I would love to be persuaded to try it again, because it seemed like it had a lot of potential, but I felt let down. If you want to read more about my review on that, if you want to see my review on other movies, check me out on Letterboxd. I do a lot more movie-centric stuff over there. And if you aren't familiar with Letterboxd, a little bit about it is this. Yeah, so that was that. Sorry the ads are running so slow tonight. My internet seems to be really dragging, so I don't know if they're showing up for you guys or skipping fast, but my apologies on that. I did say that I was gonna keep a second movie in my movie of the week though, to offset how I felt about that. So last week's movie that I watched was Drunken Angel from 1948 by director Akira Kurosawa. And I thoroughly enjoyed this one. Not that I was surprised, but it was just, I got it in a recent Criterion DVD sale. Got it home. Loved it. Great noir thriller from a master of cinema. Toshiro Mifune is doing what he does best right from the jump. He uses this dynamic acting range and expression throughout the whole thing. Kurosawa provides an absolutely interesting perspective into the noir genre, and he develops these relationship dynamics between the main characters that really gives you a lot to examine in a film that's like a lot more fast-paced than usual. I feel like there's like certain glimpses in this that you can just see the way that Kurosawa is going to just continue to revolutionize cinema anytime he touches film in the decades following that film. And so it was cool to see him in a more unique space, but still really like pushing the edges as far as he could go. So that was a super fun one. That was Drunken Angel, 1948 from Akira Kurosawa. Let's see what the comments are saying right now. Comments are going up. Oh, shout out to my brother Ryan, the longboard ninja master. He said the ads seem right on cue. Okay, so maybe it's just my internet then. My internet's just lagging and being slow. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't fucking up for you guys too much. Thank you for jumping in the comments. Appreciate you, brother. The comments help this thing rock and roll. I'm going to run into some event listings because it's been a couple weeks now. As you guys know, You can always get your event considered for the event role here. I don't care if it's a music concert, a movie screening, a pop-up event, a marketplace thing, whatever the case is. Send an email to codycentralshow@gmail.com. And if the event seems like something that I would be interested in being a part of anyways, even if I can't go, I'm going to plug it in this event role. The whole goal is to kind of have a central place where people can find out what's going on in the community or just throughout the country in general. And, after everything we've been through, in the world, it's important to get people out again, and it's important for people to support the arts in whatever capacity makes sense to them. So I encourage you to please send me your event stuff. The more stuff you guys send me, the more I'm going to plug. Otherwise, I'm just posting stuff that I think is cool. So with that said, every Sunday night, Rap Night Manchester at the Shaskeen in Manchester, New Hampshire. It's open ciphers and artist showcases. It's $5. It's 21 plus. It's hosted by DJ Myth, Sean Caliber, and I9. I plug these guys every week because Rap Night has been going strong every single Sunday night for the past 12 years at the Shaskeen. These guys put in so much work to keep this residency going. They bring in artists from all over the world to come and perform there. And all it takes is you and $5 and a few hours of your time on a Sunday night to go and support and keep this thing going. So I encourage you to check that out. That's Rap Night every single Sunday night at the Shaskeen in Manchester, New Hampshire. In addition to that as well, every Thursday at the Laugh Attic, which is upstairs at Strange Brew in Manchester, New Hampshire, is a comedy open mic showcase called the Laugh Attic, which is now hosted by Danny P, who was one of the previous guests on the show. They do a bunch of comedy open mic spots. If you want to see a great show, you can see regional and upcoming talent. If you have an interest in trying comedy, it's a great encouraging space for you to try your thing and to meet other people and to really grow. So that's every single Thursday night, the Laugh Attic at Strange Brew in Manchester, New Hampshire. Big shout out to our brother Fee. Fee's in the chat. He said Altenweg Films is in the house tonight. And that's right. I'm going to tell you guys all about Altenweg Films tonight. We got a bunch of special guests in the building. More on that in a moment. Tonight, Monday, 5/12. One of the most prolific hip-hop artists of all time, Kendrick Lamar, is currently performing at Gillette Stadium as we speak. Sunday, 5/18, Boston hardcore legends Death Before Dishonor released their brand new full-length alongside Shattered Realm and more. This show was scheduled to be at Sonia, and it sold out so fast that they actually moved it to the Middle East downstairs, and now that's almost sold out. There's a few tickets left, so make sure you jump on that. That's going to be a legendary show. If you're not in Boston, if you're in the Providence area on Sunday, New York hardcore legends Cro-Mags make their way to Alchemy at Providence for an awesome show. Friday, May 23rd, live instrumentation hip-hop soul group The Evolutionists, led by Ruby Shabazz and Fee the Evolutionist, featuring Zeke Martin, Dom Davis, and Joe Mazzarella, are going to be rocking at Warp and Weft in Lowell, Massachusetts. The next night, Saturday, May 24th, iconic 80s death metal band Obituary is going to be live at the Worcester Palladium alongside one of my favorite hardcore bands of all time, Terror. That's going to be a great show. May 31st to June 1st is Tied Down Fest in Detroit, Michigan, which is going to feature American Nightmare, Speed, Judge, The Wrong Side, Hope Conspiracy, Fiddlehead, Trial, Regional Justice Center. It's going to be an insane show. If you've got the time and money to travel out to Detroit that weekend, that is going to be one of the most memorable weekends in hardcore in a long time. Thursday, June 12th, wild California-based rock and hardcore hybrid band Fever 333 is going to be at Taffeta Music Hall in Lowell, Massachusetts. These guys, their live show, their visual cues, all of their performance stuff is as strong as their messaging, and it's all super unique and super one of a kind. Saturday, June 14th, there's going to be a celebration of life show for legendary hardcore show promoter Rich Hall, rest in peace. That's going to be at the Brooklyn Monarch in Brooklyn and features Converge, Haven, Defeater, and more. It's going to be a beautiful way to celebrate that man's legacy. Rest in peace, Rich Hall. Thursday, June 19th, legendary hip-hop stalwart Rakim is going to be making his way to Oxbow Brewing in Portland, Maine for a legendary night. Saturday, June 21st, Connecticut hardcore legends Death Threat are going to be performing alongside Product of Waste at Alchemy in Providence, Rhode Island. Product of Waste, rest in peace, T is going to have Colin from Colin of Arabia singing that night, as they have done in a couple previous reunion shows. Thursday, June 26th, Griselda Records' own Boldy James is going to be live at the Brighton Music Hall in Boston, Massachusetts. Saturday, June 28th, iconic Canadian post-rock group Godspeed You Black Emperor is going to be at Roadrunner in Boston, Massachusetts for a long overdue rescheduled show. Also that night, on Saturday, June 28th, one of the most influential rock bands of the early 2000s makes their long-awaited return to the stage after years of hiatus. Brand New is going to be at the DCU Center in Worcester, Massachusetts. Friday, July 11th, 90s emo legends Cap'n Jazz are going to be performing at Royale for a rare performance. Also that night, Friday, June 11th, the final tour from legendary hip-hop group Wu-Tang Clan is going to be at the TD Garden in Boston. They have Run the Jewels opening for them that night. Tickets have already been on sale. It's probably close to selling out. I would encourage you not to miss that historic moment in time. Saturday, July 26th, the Street Power record release show featuring Colin of Arabia, the Mongoloids, and more at the Middle East. This show did also sell out, so they moved it downstairs to open up more tickets, and it is now very close to selling out. Street Power is a New England hardcore band, and they're going to be celebrating the upcoming release of their new album, Me Time. Wednesday, July 30th, 2000s Brooklyn alternative indie rock giants TV on the Radio make their return to Boston at Roadrunner. Saturday, August 9th, one-of-a-kind comedian, the legendary Louis C.K. is going to be at Foxwoods in Connecticut. Friday, August 29th, American industrial legends Nine Inch Nails embark upon a huge tour that's going to be coming to the TD Garden in Boston. And lastly, Saturday, September 27th, just announced recently, Punk in the Park at the Palladium Outdoors in Worcester, Massachusetts. It's going to have Pennywise, Bad Religion, Comeback Kid, Face to Face, Adolescents, and a lot more. So that's going to be wild, wild stuff happening. Like I said, if you want to have your event mentioned at any point, just shoot me an email at codycentralshow@gmail.com, and we will make some shit happen for you guys. With that said, thank you for being so patient, and I'm excited to get into the main course of tonight's episode. So, up first, tonight's guest is someone who I've been really excited to talk shop with for a long time. He's a local independent filmmaker, writer, and director, and alongside some of his crew that will be joining us momentarily, we're going to be discussing their upcoming feature, The House, which is currently in production right now. Please welcome to the program my friend, director, and screenwriter, Mark Altenweg.
Cody, good to see you, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing great, brother. How are you?
Excellent. Thank you so much for having us on tonight.
Absolutely, dude. Thank you so much for being here. First things first, now that the interview is live, the chat is open for Q&A as long as we're live tonight. So anybody in the chat, if you have questions for any of our guests, drop them in the chat. We're going to pick our favorite ones and we'll put them on screen and get them answered for you. So with that said, when I first do these interview things, these conversations, I always like to get a quick glimpse of people's introduction to their craft or their lifestyle or whatever the case may be. So when did you first discover that you had a more than deep passion for cinema and filmmaking? When did that come about in your life?
This story always gets me in trouble, Cody. So Honestly, I was hanging out with some buddies, and we were having a few beverages, maybe hitting a couple of sticks, watching some comedies, and thinking, boy, we could put some stories together that actually would be funnier than the movie we were watching. So I was like, all right, this is great. So I wrote my first movie. It was called No Strings Attached. It was a 200-page comedy. I sent it in for a Hollywood critical review, and I'm not even kidding you. I was so arrogant. I thought that this was the best movie. I just sold the world's next Caddyshack. A month later, I get the review, open up the letter. Top first sentence was, "You have no idea how to write a movie."
Holy shit.
It was brutal. I didn't even finish reading it. I put it down for a whole month. Finally went back, read it again. Second sentence said, but you've got some funny ideas. Guy pointed to some books, some resources that I was able to go, and I taught myself. So this was back in 2008. I taught myself how to write a feature presentation, 3-act, typical 3-act process. And right before the pandemic, back in 2018, I ran into some local filmmakers. Great shout out to my buddy Brian Snow, Cody. We put together, the Brotherly Love movie, which you can get online at thebrotherlylovemovie.com. Stream it for free. Check it out. We put this together during the pandemic. It took us 5 years to put this movie out, and I'm proud of it. It came out. There's a lot of mistakes. I see it myself, but it's an interesting story. We have some tremendous actors. The mistakes were all on me, not our crew. Not our cast, they're all tremendous. But I learned a lot. I met a ton of great people. I brought on a couple of partners for this next movie, Zach Scott. He's incredibly talented, and Ryan Rawlinson, another guy. The three of us together put the script together. It was my main idea at first, and they came in and helped me straighten it out. And we started filming it about a month ago, and this movie is going to be the one. This is going to be the one we're excited about. We're going to take everything that we learned, we're going to roll it into this process, and we're going to try to hit festivals. And honestly, I'm hoping this is going to come out and be streaming, and you're going to be able to watch it anywhere.
Damn, that's exciting. You kind of tapped into my first question a little bit, but I'll just run it anyways. Before I know we actually have Ryan and Zach backstage right now. We're going to bring them out momentarily. I have this big magic door right here that I'm going to walk them through, and they'll be set. They're just in the green room enjoying red M&Ms.
I didn't get any red M&Ms.
So when we first met, we were introduced by our friend Bill. Shout out to Fee the Evolutionist in the chat. And I think it was right around the time that you were releasing Brotherly Love. And so my introduction to you was that you were actually holding a damn near sold out premiere for it at Chunky's in Nashua. Rest in peace to Chunky's. So I wanted to ask you how that all came to be, and where you've been headed since its release. And I know you said a little bit about bringing some partners on, so we'll get into that. But I guess for you creatively, what was it like getting into that first movie and getting it up to the point that you're showing it on a screen? And then what do you take from that going forward?
Cody, it was a dream. I mean, I've always loved movies. I've always loved writing. To see, something you put down on paper, brought up on the big screen, have a sold out. You're right. We had over 100 people during the pandemic. We would have had twice as many people, except Chunky's made us distance. It was an incredible crowd, and the movie was well received. It just was an incredibly proud moment, and I love movies anyways. But it made me I don't want to say I hate my day job because it pays the bills, but I can promise you, if I ever sold a movie or I got paid to do this, I would never do my day job again.
I know the feeling, brother. Trust me.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't want to stay in the past too much, because I feel like we've got a lot of stuff to talk about for your upcoming film, The House. And so, without further ado, chat, please welcome the other two partners from Altenweg Films. At first, I would like to introduce Zach Scott, the cinematographer and co-writer on the feature. Zach, what's up, man? I hope you can see us and hear us. I hope you're doing well.
Everything's up and running on my end. Looks good.
Hell yeah. And then let's bring on your other partner as well. as you mentioned before, Ryan Rawlinson, who is your co-writer as well as the lead actor in the film. So Ryan, thank you for being here as well, man.
I'm really happy to be here. This is my first time on one of these shows.
Damn, that's awesome. Well, I'm even more honored that it's mine then. Thank you, man. Appreciate it all.
Be gentle, Cody. Be gentle.
No, don't worry. I can take it.
The chat says welcome to all of you guys. So make sure you guys make yourselves at home. I hope you're comfy. I hope the green room was cozy. Appreciate you guys waiting there as long as you did.
I found a brown M&M in my red M&Ms. It's a little upset about this.
Don't worry, that is
grievance.
fired. I'll have them out of here. They'll be living on the streets in 2 hours from now.
The big M&M escapade.
So I want to let you guys tell the story a bit, but for frame of reference, we did all have a few minutes to chat before the show started. And so one of the things that you were telling me is that you did a number of iterations of the script for this movie. And so obviously, when you were done Brotherly Love, did you know that this was the next movie you wanted to do? Or did it take time to kind of piece what this movie was going to be about?
Yeah, I kind of came across this story. So, we're not going to give credit to the actual person that, did the crimes, but this is a local story that we changed up. I ran into the story shortly after we released Brotherly Love, and it was just such an intriguing story. And, when I brought the cast together and the crew, we were able to have such talent, we just had to go forward with it. So I didn't know at the time, but I knew I loved the story. And it's got a big twist that comes at the end that, I've had some review of it and everybody is caught off guard with it. So, we just have a lot of excitement with it and so much talent that, we just had to go forward. And I'm excited that we're in the process of putting it out.
You were saying you had a number of different iterations in that you did, what was it, like 18 months of rewrites almost?
Oh God, yeah. It felt like forever. But yeah, I mean, we put together a ton of different versions. I mean, the basis of the story stayed the same, but we went through the entire story. We wanted to make sure that it was as creepy as possible, as real as possible. We're not looking for not that there's anything wrong with jump scares or anything, but we felt the basis of the story was scary enough that we could just tell the story and it would creep the audience out enough. So we wanted to go for that authenticity. So it took us a lot of versions to get there, and Ryan and Zach were huge helps, when we sat down and put these versions together. So, shout out to those guys.
So I want to ask you guys, Ryan or Zach, whoever wants to answer. So Mark has this idea for a movie. He puts this script together. He has some previous experience with you guys and wants you guys to take more of a partnership role in this film. What is that feeling like for you creatively, emotionally, whatever, to take on somebody else's passion project and now take some ownership of it in steering the course? How does that come together for you guys?
Zach, did you want to go first or me?
Yeah, sure. So I'm super psyched that, our mutual friend Brian Snow connected me and Mark. He sent me his script after I met him on this past film, Brotherly Love. And before we got into the house, he helped me out on my last film, Your Disease in the Parking Lot, which is on my channel in the headings here. And, if you look at some of the projects on my channel, or all of them, I am writing, directing, editing, acting in some of them. And the amount of absolute devotion that needs to happen and negligence of all other aspects of life is pretty wild with that type of situation where you're wearing that many hats. So to be on this thing where Ryan's a part of it and Mark's a part of it and so many other people, it almost feels like I never want to go back. The cavalry's come in and this is a team effort, this is a collaboration, this is what it's supposed to be like. And that's been my total experience with the house so far, just a month going in. I'm sure it'll continue to be this like kind of collaborative effort. And you know, not to say I don't like, you know, the singular like, you know, writer just, you know, getting, you know, entrenched in their story and like in their world. But when it comes to kind of like the teamwork on set, it's really great to kind of have a lot of collaborators involved and a lot of people just like communicating and, you know, just like helping each other out, rather than trying to do it all yourself. That being said, you know, if you don't have those resources and you have a camera, you know, like go out there and get creative. But, you know, I really think this medium lends itself to like teamwork and collaboration a lot.
So, Ryan, I want to hear how you feel too, but you led me to another question there when you mentioned like a singular vision. One thing that comes up as like a recurring theme in like old film podcasts and books and things like that is the idea of the auteur theory. And, you know, basically somebody with a vision leading a ship and everybody kind of getting behind that vision. Is that something creatively that you believe in or align with, or what you're doing now in like the collaborative sense? Is that more how you see the film industry being able to prosper?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's tough. It's kind of like a gamble when you go with like someone in like the auteur, you know, like just like singular position. They really want kind of like material that is based on something else or something that's kind of like been tried or true. You know, a good example recently of like Sinners that Ryan Coogler directed with Michael B. Jordan, which was, you know, absolutely phenomenal. And you know, I think I heard a fact that like that's the most unoriginal movies made in like the past decade. And, you know, that's not to say there's not like great scripts like that out there. It's just that like the people willing to take the chance to do that kind of thing, like, you know, Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan have collaborated, you know, since like Fruitvale Station, you know, like probably over 10 years ago, and then like the Creed saga. So like they know that, you know, they've made money in the past and they can go ahead and do this original thing. But for, you know, like a studio or producer to just like fund someone for something like that right off the bat is like really rare. And it's tough because I think that's where like a lot of the original, you know, stuff comes from, is like these different people who don't necessarily have experience in like studio productions. So, you know, you talked about like Kurosawa earlier, and just like, you know, Kubrick, and, you know, just Coen Brothers, Paul Thomas Anderson, like so many great just like original viewpoints out there that you know, make great films. And I just love to see like more and more of that, and, you know, love to see a space in like the streaming world and the theater for that kind of stuff.
Dude, I can definitely feel you on that. I think I agree a lot. I sit here wearing a Jordan Peele sweatshirt, so I'm definitely all about like the, you know, letting people lead if they have a vision, and like getting behind somebody with the spotlight, you know.
Makes much better film, that's for sure.
Yeah. Ryan, I want to know how this experience was for you as well, especially since you are the lead actor in this thing, as well as you came on board as a co-writer and probably a number of other positions as the production goes on as well. How was that experience for you, joining on to somebody's like initial creative vision and taking ownership of that to kind of make the best project you could? Did you have any struggles with that, or was it like a very fluid thing for you?
So all of my creative experience up until about a year ago or so, whenever I started working on this project with Mark and Zach, it's been solo. Right, I've had all these ideas about stories and photographs, photography, anything creative that you could possibly think of. I've had an idea about, and I've done a marginal amount of work on. But when I joined Mark in writing the script, it really taught me a lot about collaboration. And it's not like I didn't know how to work in a team before, but working on a creative project where there's a lot of ego involved, and there's a lot of, you know, like I'm right, you're wrong mentality.
Yeah.
I anticipate in a higher office of the creative industry, it would be more volatile, but joining on this, it was very go with the flow. It was very mellow for the most part. Creative mixology. You know, it was super fun to spew my ideas about what the script should be and what the script shouldn't be, to Mark, and then him doing the same back at me, and that creative ebb and flow. It was really fun, and I think the outcome of what we created was truly something special that I think everybody here and more are extremely happy with.
Yeah, that's cool. It makes me excited for you guys, because it feels like, as a musician, my comparison is almost like a bunch of solo artists coming together to do a band for the first time, and now you see like how much creative power you wield as like a unit, so to speak. So yeah. I'm excited for you guys. It's really cool to hear that perspective from each of you guys. Going back to the film itself, I would say, so Brotherly Love comes out, you do this great screening at Chunky's, you release it, it's available for streaming online. About 18 months from that point, you rewrite until you finally have what you guys call the house, and you have a script that the three of you guys are happy with. Where and how does production start from that point for you guys? Like, you have because normally it's like you have a production company giving you money or whatever the case is, and somebody to scout locations and somebody to get permits and all this kind of crazy shit. And it's like, you guys, I presume, are doing this mostly or all out of pocket and out of time outside of jobs to sustain life and shit like that. And so how do you go from having a script that you're all happy with to getting a production off the ground with cameras, acting, lighting, locations, costumes, whatever it takes?
Yeah, it's not easy. It takes a lot of planning. I don't want to say I'm a salesman, but I'm a talker. I'm a negotiator. So, a lot of times we try to get locations that we can shoot for free, or we do product placement in the film. We'll be filming at Epigram. That's going to be a product placement. We filmed at Roscoe's Diner in Chelmsford. That's going to be a product placement. A lot of the other places, they end up being friends, like Vlad Messidor. We're filming up in Nashua. We're filming some in local areas, AC Cuts, some of the outdoor shots that we're going to be filming at. So, we end up going to different locations, and that makes it a lot less expensive. And then, I did some bartering for the equipment. So we upgraded all of our equipment, and then we ended up getting that for free for the movie. And then we put together an incredible crew. Obviously everybody's volunteering their time, and the cast is a really, really strong mix. We've got some young actors, Michaela Mokegan, Nina Belmonte, and Spaghetti. These are our, inclusive of Ryan. This is our younger staff. We love Spaghetti. And then we'll mix them together with, some old veterans, or not old, I don't want to say old, older, savvy veterans, Jim Baker, Todd Therian, Eric Daly, Shayna Frasco, just a really solid mix, Lisa Sobian. So, everybody volunteers their time. We just, put together a really aggressive filming schedule. So, it does cost money to put all this together, but we like to say that we're really efficient. And we've been able to do things on the low end. So we'll probably have the whole movie, including marketing, for about $15,000. And we're hoping the end product is going to look a lot more polished than that.
So is that something? So like when the script is done, do you have to kind of go back and sort of like heavily storyboard this thing and be like, this scene takes place in an office. Okay, where can we go and shoot an office that's not going to, charge us money? And then you got to kind of run through places and lock that in, and then kind of go to the next scene. Like, does it take a while to kind of match those pieces up, or are you kind of like subconsciously doing that during the writing process?
So yeah, no, I mean, the writing process is really based off of the creative moment. One of the biggest things I learned from Brotherly Love is to be creative and be inexpensive. So, we tried to really look at the filming of the movie through the lens of how could we do it at just using our local resources. And we didn't put a lot of CGI of note, very little CGI if any. Obviously we got a lot of special effects, but we're working with all local people. Manda Carco, she's a local special effects guru, and we're putting together what we'd like to say low budget, but it's going to end up being high quality. So it's making that nickel stretch as long as possible and putting something together special.
I love that. Well, our buddy Fee said, can't wait to see the finished product. Will there be a premiere party or an event at a theater?
Yes. So we're going to have tons of updates on all of this. So check out my Instagram page, Altenweg Movies. We're going to be constantly updating pictures from when we're going to be filming on set. We're going to be talking about when we're releasing trailers, teasers. We'll have the release as far as any streaming, any festivals that we're doing. So we'll constantly be updating. So, check back as often as you can and check out what we're doing, because there's going to be lots of updates. The goal is to have the movie officially released for the Halloween season of 2026. So, we'll spend the rest of this year filming. Then we're going to go into post and finish up all our editing and our score. And I got to give a shout out on the score. We're using all local talent. We're putting a soundtrack together. We got our boy Cody going to be on the soundtrack. Fee is going to be on the soundtrack. We've got a band called Falsely Accused. We've got both Zach and Ryan are incredibly talented musicians, so they're going to be adding, as well as our good friend Brian Snow will be helping. So we're going to have a great collaboration on that soundtrack to work on the score. And then we're going to release it and hope everybody loves it as much as we do.
It's funny. Fee was trying to get the alley-oop from you there. He asking about the soundtrack, knowing that he's on it, that guy.
No, I wanted to talk about it because
I know.
There's a lot of talented people. So you can't make a movie like this without having an incredible base of talented friends and networking, because you can drop a couple $1 million and put a movie together, but to put it together on the budget we're putting together, we just get a lot of love from the community. A lot of love from a lot of friends, family. So we can never thank those folks enough.
So speaking of this being a very friends and family supported thing, when you're going to cast the parts for this, is it difficult to write parts and then figure out if you're going to be able to find the right person to play that part after? Or do you write the parts with a potential actor in mind because you have a network of people you like to work with?
So that's a yes and no answer for me. And I'll let Ryan and Zach chime in on that. But there are some characters that I specifically write for people in mind. And then there's other characters that I just think add a tremendous amount of value. And then I'm very hopeful that we can find somebody to play that role. And to me, I think we lucked out because the cast and the house is incredible. We did change some of the actors around. Zach's got an incredibly good eye for that, and he made some calls early on. And I think that, people are going to love it. But guys, what do you think?
I mean, I can't say much from the casting perspective because that was all Mark and Zach. And Mark actually told me after one of our writing meetings, our writing rooms, that he thought I would do good as one of the characters in the story, and I was surprised at first.
That was Zach's call.
Yeah.
Zach, the minute Zach saw you when we were doing a read, he made that call.
Yeah, and so when I was helping writing the script, I what I did personally was create these fictional people in my head, and like what they looked like, what they acted like, what they sounded like, and I didn't have any hand in the casting, so I didn't get to fit any of the cast to what I had in my brain. But I think that what was chosen eventually was the right call.
All right.
Yeah,
well,
my experience was, kind of writing at the beginning of, my career, and just really had no idea about actors. And then as time like evolved and, I started working more and more, I kind of knew more and more like what a character should look like. And especially after like working with actors and then like sitting down with a script and writing a character, like then, like I had people in mind. I kind of like developed this team, and I feel like a character really kind of like blossoms when you have them in mind before, you even like kind of start like writing their dialogue. It really mixes kind of like this fictional character with a real personality. But I'm sure there's a lot of, great projects out there that do it the other way, with just writing kind of like a character with no one in mind, and then the actor finding the right fit for them. But that's something that, like, as time went on for me, in my own projects, like I started to have people in mind who would be good for what. And usually it's like a pretty good fit.
I can see how that would be like. I guess that must be like a circumstantial thing where it's like sometimes that you have a certain network to cast, and sometimes you might have the leverage to start thinking outside of the box and being like, well, who could we get for this or that? All right, our buddy Scott is blowing up the chat right now. So Scott wants me to ask you guys, what is each of yours favorite movies and why?
All right, I'll jump in here. So my favorite director of all time is Hitchcock. I love all Hitchcock movies, so I'm going to say that my favorite movie is the original Psycho. I loved it because it was incredibly unique for the time. It just completely changed how horror, in my opinion, was made and how it evolved, and it made me love movies from the minute that I saw it. And I saw it at a young age, and it's something I'll never forget. And it was just a movie that's influenced me throughout my life.
What do you think, Ryan?
Oh, wow.
No pressure, gun
So
to your
hard.
head. It's your letterbox. Go.
Well, on my Letterboxd, my favorite movies they range. Since Letterboxd lets you choose 4, I think. I'll just go through 2. My favorite single movie has got to be Interstellar, and I know that that's a bland take, but it's just so good. I think it really takes the idea that people have of what, like, the golden age of Hollywood, the emotion of plot and the emotion of story, and it makes it real. It makes the idea, it like puts the idea in a tangible, emotional way that you can't get out of many movies.
True. And like, you guys picked movies from 2 different eras of filmmaking, but think about how important of like technical feats both of those were in the way of like making films too. Like Psycho obviously had a number of super important and industry changing shot direction and tools for shots and things like the thing to help with the staircase and all that kind of shit. And Interstellar with its use of IMAX cameras and really just pushing the ability of what you could do visually. Like I could totally understand why both of those were like so impactful on you guys. Fee in the chat said, I love Alfred Hitchcock, and as do I. I think many of us do, but Hitchcock really just is like, and it sucks because it's like I am somebody who's a fan of like film history, not like I don't want to act like I know a lot of shit, but I just like am very interested in like studying it and whatnot. And like, it sucks when you learn that Hitchcock wasn't always like the nicest person to the people that he worked with. But it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, man, it's one of those rare occasions where I don't know if it's because the timing is so far off or whatever, but it's like, I can very much like separate the art from the artist on like subconsciously, because the films were just so unparalleled in so many ways. And all of the stuff that you hear about him is mostly like just that stuff that you hear. And that's a whole other thing we can get into too. But Zach, I'm interested to know like what's one of your like big favorites or big impact points.
Oh, you guys got me thinking about so many good ones between like Hitchcock and Nolan, but like one that I always come back to is this one, probably like 20 years old by now, Adaptation. Spike Jonze directed with Nicolas Cage, Charlie Kaufman script, who did like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind and Being John Malkovich. And are any of you guys familiar with that one? Adaptation with where Nicolas Cage plays his twin, and you know, just how like completely surreal that is. And you know, Spike Jonze, who, you know, he did Her, he did, you know, he's kind of like, he comes out now and then with like these great pictures. He doesn't have like a huge list like Nolan or Hitchcock, but the ones he does are really great. And you know, just I think it was based off like source material from this New Yorker article about a you know, an orchid thief. And you know, the way that like he writes it with this woman who wrote the article, but he's also including himself in the script about like, you know, doing the adaptation of the, you know, actual like New Yorker article, and you know, also like comparing that to, you know, the adaptation of like A Flower in the World, and like just like the metaphors in it and the performances. And you know, Chris Cooper plays like the orchid thief, just kind of this like crazy guy who's, you know, like life is just like stealing flowers, and you know, ends up basically in this like love story with Meryl Streep, who's like the author of it. And there's this scene in there where he's like explaining, you know, flowers to her in his kind of like old van with this like woman, you know, like this writer from New York, and like Wild Horses is playing over the radio. And it's just like this really kind of like beautiful, unexpected moment that like gets me every time. And you know, that's one of those ones that I can come back to and watch a lot, like North by Northwest, you know, the Hitchcock one, Inception by Nolan. Like, I think some movies are really like albums where you can really just kind of like throw them on over and over and like appreciate them. You know, I think there's some out there like, you know, they're really meant for just like one-time viewing, you know, like some of the movies you see, but then there's others that people put their heart and soul into that you can throw on like an album and just like, you know, appreciate many, many times.
Yeah. Dude, all of those were such great choices too, because I feel like it makes me more excited for what you guys are doing together creatively, because you all kind of opted to choose a film that inspired you from different, like, you know, obviously Mark's pick was from the 60s and Ryan's pick was from the like 2010s, and then your pick was like kind of right in the middle in like that like early 2000s, right? Like I think Adaptation was 2001 or 2002 or something like that.
2004 maybe, something.
Okay.
2003.
Somewhere in that realm. So it's like it's cool to see like. It was 2002.
Yeah, you get that? No.
I knew it was like, because I remember like
Cody.
Well, I was in junior high, and so like I really started liking movies in junior high, and like when I was a kid, I was like a real nutso kid, and I would just watch like the pay-per-view trailer channel all day. So I would literally just watch the trailers on repeat, and so it's like I knew like every movie and the actor's name that was in it, and I just like never saw them, but I knew the quotes from them. And so then I would like get older and see them, and it was just like oh my God, I just remember this one scene on repeat like fucking 15 times.
Oh my God, that must have been like a hidden treasure watching all those movies.
Oh, it definitely was. I did this thing in 2019. I don't know what kind of like triggered the thought, but I made a Google Doc and I put like every decade from like the 1920s onward, and I just tried to research like what were the most important movies or the most movies that interested me in each of those decades. And I just spent the whole year trying to just like run and gun as many fucking movies as I could that I had never seen before. And so I just like unexpectedly, I'd watch this movie and then all of a sudden I would be like, oh shit, well I want to see more with this guy. And then I'd go on and like, I'd just spiral off, and it turned into a year-long project. It was
Best year of your life.
Literally. Big shout out to Kevin. What's up, brother? I'm glad you made it in tonight. We're talking movies. I know this is your shit, so I'm glad you're here. Dude, Ryan in the chat brought up a good point too about Interstellar, going back a little bit. He said Interstellar had the scientifically accurate black hole depiction. That's pretty crazy for a movie of that magnitude to still be scientifically accurate too. Shit, okay, I want to get back to your guys' movie. We got a little, I love talking about movies, but I don't want to get too off track. So we got our script done in about 18 months. We figured out our storyboarding and our locations. We had a network of actors that we were lucky to line up with for the cast. Bring us to day one of this production and being on set with all of these people for the first time, seeing this script come to life for the first time. What is this day like? Like, what do you guys remember from this? How does this make you feel? What were your technical issues, if you had any? How did this whole thing go from like day one of kind of being off to the races, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, I can only speak for myself, but I didn't sleep much the night before. I had a lot of adrenaline. I was just psyched to get going. Our first day of filming was at Roscoe's Diner. So, there was a lot of issues with audio, some of the freezers and stuff in the background. So overall, filming went great until Roscoe came back early and put all the freezers back on and kind of threw our audio off. So, there was some nerves, there was some kinks, but overall it was just awesome to be back on set. My day job is, something that pays the bills. We've talked about this, but being on set and, working with some incredibly talented people, it's just a blessing. The days are long. We're trying to film the whole movie in 5 months. We're filming on Saturday nights and Sunday nights. So, typically we're running, 6-7 hours. So it does get to be exhausting, but it's just, you're dealing with awesome people. It's not like people are down each other's throats and, everybody's, getting all upset and just trying to get it done. It's very collaborative. We make sure, that the filming is done right. We're getting all the shots that we want. And, filming is not a quick process. We easily could run 10 takes, if not more on, 5 seconds of film. So, the thing is that the end product is what matters. And, when you're dealing with such great people, everybody's striving for that end product. So it's very collaborative and it's just a great time.
Fee said, with all the moving parts, scheduling must be a challenge, getting everybody together at the same time for scenes, things like that. How difficult was it getting the cast that needed to be there for day one? Was that like the easiest day to set up, or was that kind of the biggest hurdle? And if you got that day, the rest would come?
So scheduling is always a challenge. Fee knows that. He hears me complain about it all the time. We did bring some 21st century technology to it. We did some calendar apps and things like that. We tracked some time off. But overall, it's a big coordination, trying to get anywhere from 5 to 10 people to show up for a period of time. And we, like I said, we film a lot of Chelmsford, but we filmed in Boston a couple of nights. We're going to be filming in New Hampshire. So to coordinate that, it's always a challenge. And again, nobody's getting paid. So you have to be respectful of their time. You got to make sure you put it together where it works for everybody. It's my least favorite part of the entire process.
How was the first day of production for you guys, Ryan and Zach? You know, like you're acting in something that you just spent the last year and a half writing. You're getting ready to do cinematography and help direct this thing, and so your vision is more important than ever. How does that first day feel for you guys?
Nerve-wracking, mostly, because I had never acted like seriously before, in anything close to what we're doing now, and I didn't know if I was going to be shit or good, but it was, well, first of all, it was very hot in that in that area, so I was also wearing like generally very hot clothes, so it was really sweaty, and that didn't help, certainly not. But it was fulfilling, because at the end of the day, when I was finally walking back to my car to go home, and I'm like, man, that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun to get that done and just do in general. And I think the part where like you're acting out the characters that you've been working with on paper for so many months. I'd say that was 18 months of character preparation for me as an actor. So I think
that had to be like
pretty
some great insight for your character, having been on the pen writing it.
Yeah, it was plenty of research into the actual guy and the fake guy that we had on the page.
How about you, Zach? How was that day for you? Was there like a lot of pressure on you as a cinematographer to have all these technical issues in order, or do you feel like you just were waiting for your moment to shine because you were waiting for this day?
Yeah, I think a little bit of both. Like I was saying earlier, there's days where I've been directing, working camera and acting, on the same project, and I've had like a few films behind me. So I think, when I think about that first day on the diner, it's one of the first times I felt pretty confident going into a production. I remember there's days where, my first day on other productions, people were showing up late, or I didn't know where to put the camera. But, today, like that day I went in with like a plan. We had gotten together earlier and like done some storyboarding. So just the amount of preparation for this, I would say it's one of the first times that I felt like pretty confident and like not a lot of nerves, which is kind of like a first for, first days and, productions. It could be pretty nerve wracking, but with the amount of preparation, it was, I felt pretty good going into this one.
That's dope. That must be cool to have like enough excitement and enough confidence to outweigh the like typical anxiety or overwhelmedness of like going into a production of this magnitude.
Yeah, and this is like Mark's baby, so he's probably got a lot more stake. He's probably having a few more sleepless nights, which I definitely have experience with in the past. So, it's like on the one hand, like I miss that kind of like creative part in it, but on the other, like it is nice to kind of like not have to do that for once in production. And I feel for him because scheduling is absolutely just like a job and a half. And I've worked on films that are like consecutive days, so after just like an 8-hour day and like shooting in a diner or something, I would have to go home and start emailing actors for like the next day, and like besides like uploading footage, putting away equipment, it's like the toll that takes is bananas. So it's really nice, like I said, to be just like on a collaboration with like the teamwork and handing off jobs to other people and really kind of like giving each other a break and helping each other out.
Damn, I'm so hyped for you guys. I feel like a broken record, but it's just so cool to be in the chat with people who are like really just like out there making this shit happen, doing what it takes. I know you guys said that you're about a month into filming so far, and you're hoping to. Were you hoping to shoot the whole thing in 5 or 6 months, or were you hoping to have the whole thing produced in 5 or 6 months?
So all the gross footage we're looking to put 5-6 months max, and then we have some studio work that we're hoping to get done in that time frame, but we'll hit that this fall. And then we're going to spend, the next 6 to 9 months, depending on how quickly we can get through it, finishing up all the editing, making sure everything is in top shape, working on the score, getting all that work done. And then when we have the release, we're going to make sure it's the best product that we can put out. This is going to be something that we're going to be super proud of, and I think it's going to be creepy as hell, Cody. It's going to be, I'm hoping I'm not going to try to sell it, but. We've spent a lot of time working on that script, and if
that's why we're here, we sell it.
Yeah, if we do justice to the script, and I believe we will, I think people are going to find this to be one incredibly creepy movie.
I want to dive into that a little bit because you did, and you kind of touched on it, and you said that it was based on like a real life crime story that you had read about, and that you translated it for your own thing. Yes. So what's the brief synopsis of the house for anybody that might have just jumped in during this episode?
So it's a story about a young lady, a teenage girl who moves into a country setting, into this house with her dad. They relocate to this town. The dad's a new sheriff, and they had just lost their mother. So their relationship is really at odds. And they're starting over in this new town. She runs into this local friend, and in essence, they really try to do this seance to try to contact her mother. And things start to happen. At first there's appearances and things like that, and then things get a little bit uglier as it starts to progress. And I'm not going to give away any more than that, because then we're going to start getting into the big twist at the end. But it's definitely a take. It's a ghost story that morphs into, the last 20 minutes of the movie is just pure chaos. It's a ghost story that morphs into almost like a slasher movie. So it's going to be an interesting take.
I'm here for it, dude. I love it. Now the Halloween date makes a little more sense too.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I love that.
It gets bloody at the end. But we hope we're going to scare the shit out of you well before we start, spilling the blood.
I'd be regretful not to ask as the physical media god, but do you guys have any plans for a DVD or Blu-ray or anything of that sort after the release comes out? 'Cause I noticed you mentioned Brotherly Love was streaming, but I don't have an ability to play it in my Blu-ray player.
Yeah, so those are all the upgrades. We're definitely going to be rolling out a website. We're going to have a lot more options. We'll be doing bios, links. You'll be able to have a link right to my first movie, to any of Ryan or Zach or any of the cast and crew if they want to promote anything. We'll make sure that we get it up on the website, but we'll be heavily promoting it. All that stuff is going to go through my Instagram page. So when we get that up and running, you'll have it. And we'll definitely try to put something together where you can put it on Blu-ray.
As movie fans in general, or cinephiles, however you see yourself, how do you personally feel about physical media right now? Is it something that's important to you? Are you more in tune with streaming and the direction that it's going in? Do you have a feeling or a preference either way? Do you feel its impact at all? How do you guys feel about physical media as a whole?
Well, from my point of view, I think that not only is physical media important in terms of ownership, it's also just kind of fun. Having all these things, these tangible items to all these fun buttons to click and switches to flip and whatnot. I think we need more of that in this day and age of screens and touchpads. It's the ability to interact with the world around you, I think, is very important to being a human being. Long live physical media. I see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But more specifically, in an age of digitization and companies are openly saying like you don't own anything that you buy online because what we're selling to you is the ability to access.
Yeah, it's like a temporary license to watch.
Yeah, so if your thing is that you want to own what you want, then I think physical media is for you. If you don't care either way, then go ahead with digital. It's it's not my job to police you on that, but yeah, I think it's important to have something rather than having the ability to access it.
Yeah, I'm gonna second that. I mean, I have a lifetime collection of PlayStation games, every version that's ever come out. I have CDs, DVDs, but I'm gonna admit right now, all the things that I can access right now are not hooked up to any TVs in my house, so everything is streaming. I mean, it just makes it easier, makes it more condensed. But physical media, to me, I love it. I love the art. I love the anything that goes with it. Especially if you're getting, something that talks about the production or how it went down, it's all good in my opinion.
Yeah. Another thing that I want to add on to that is, especially new physical media that's being made in terms of like specifically video games. And I know this is not about video games, but I just wanted to.
No, it's all relative though, because video game industry, music industry, movie industry, even the book industry in a way is dealing with the same issue at hand of if you depend on the streaming thing as your like convenient access to art, you're on a limited engagement with it, and it's always at the behest of the content distributor rather than the consumer or the content owner.
Sure. Yeah. And having everything in the company's hands is a recipe for having that your access to that item or whatever taken away, because that is literally within their legal ability. So if your account's banned, your all the stuff you have on that account is gone.
Zach, you seemed like you had something to say earlier.
Yeah, I mean, I've been collecting DVDs forever, and as far as like streaming goes, there's like a level of convenience there, but like we were talking about, if like Hulu's gonna pay more money for a movie than Amazon, or Netflix like wants this movie and like you're only subscribed to Amazon, it's like you can't totally depend on that. You can't totally depend on internet access. You can't totally depend on like traveling and what your access to like the streaming is going to be. And I think intention is a huge part of like movies too, and ownership makes it like way more personable. I was watching this HBO show earlier, and when it ended, it just kind of like did a countdown until this next thing started, and it was just some random movie. And it's like that's not the way I really want to go into a movie. That's not the way I would want someone to go into mine. Like I really want there to be like intention there, and I think ownership makes that like so much more present. And I have movies, I could name like Lost Highway by David Lynch, Cabin Fever, Eli Roth. It's like I don't even know where to start to try and like find those types of movies on streaming. So I'm glad that I have my collection and I can just kind of like sit down with it anytime.
So I feel too is there's so many, like, it's funny because you said Lost Highway, which I just got a copy from Criterion. They just did like a 4K recently, but before that it's the same thing. It's like, where do you watch it? And Criterion Channel might have been the only place. And another movie that kind of went through that for me, and this is random, but Hard Boiled. It's an old John Woo movie from the 80s. Yeah, Zach knows what the fuck I'm talking about, dude. That movie wasn't on like any streaming platforms for the longest time, and the licensing had been tied up. And so at one point the Criterion DVD of it, which mind you came out in like the 90s, was like $100 or $200 or something like that. And so it took an insanely long time to find it at like a way more normal price. And that was it. So it just was on my list of like, I hope I can see this one day. And it took me like somewhere between like 5 and 10 years to really like get a copy on hand. And I've just run into a number of things like that have really like pressed the issue for me on the physical media thing. And I don't want to harp too much on this, but I do want to ask one more question in relation to that. With the way that the way our media consumption methods have changed so much, and obviously I think we can all say, as much as we may love physical media, there's definitely a period of time in film history where the physical media wasn't the priority anymore, and we've all lived in that time period. And have the impacts from that been more positive or more negative, do you think, in terms of like creatives at large? Because I know there is obviously some opportunities that have opened up that are super beneficial from the streaming benchmark, but it's also taken away some goalposts and things like that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there are positives. So you can get your movie out a little bit easier than you once could, with all the streaming opportunities. But I think that, and I'm not going to say anything bad about anybody who puts a movie together, because the process is incredibly difficult. So any movie that gets put out, whether you want to call it good or bad, there's so much effort that goes into that. To me, I just tip the cap to anybody that spent that amount of time. But it just, you have to weed through a lot of stuff sometimes with what you see. And I'm a big B horror movie type of guy, so I love watching all the B horror movies and stuff like that. But there's just, the selection is just sometimes overwhelming. So and sometimes I think that it might drop the standard down of what you're trying to see. So overall, to me, it's a mixed bag. But I do like it, especially being an independent filmmaker, because hopefully we can get our film out and we can get it to a lot of people's homes in a much easier capacity because of the ability to stream.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I would lean more towards detrimental. I think, just the amount of streaming networks and, shows, remember when like Sopranos and like The Wire and, like Lost, like it was like a handful of shows on TV, and now there's like 100, like a month. And, I think, like the top 10 on like the Netflix and like the Hulus, and, it's just pressing like more and more like new material when there's so much. You mentioned like the Criterion channel. There's probably kids that have like watched 8 episodes of Black Mirror in one day, but don't know who, Hitchcock is, or, John Huston, and like so many classics that, I think streaming kind of like blocks you from, unless you're on like the Criterion, which, I think a lot of people aren't. So,
yeah.
I would definitely lean more towards like detriment and just kind of like blasting people with this like new material that's really just kind of like this like survey informed thing that, like rated well, and it's just kind of being like churned out without, a lot of like heart and soul going into it, like a lot of the movies of old were. And, even like, more recent movies, like you talked about like Heretic, and, I talked about like Sinners, and a lot of good like recent ones. But, if they just like stop making movies today, and, you had to like go back and like look at like the classics, you'd still probably spend like a few years having like fresh material. I mean, like the average person would, which should tell you about like the output of streaming these days.
Yeah. I think that what Mark said about movies being easier to make, I completely agree, because like YouTube, you can just upload any like films that you make it to YouTube, and then that would be like the simplest, easiest way to get a film out there, if that's the way you want to go. But there was another thing I was gonna say, and I don't remember what it was. Yeah, okay. In terms of monetization and making money, I think that the DVD release was kind of like a second box office opening for people. Back when that was huge, bigger than it is today, of course. You know, and with these streaming platforms, it's I'm not entirely sure how the money gets made behind the scenes of streaming platforms, how they get it onto the streaming platform, but you know, just going off of that, it's the whole second opening thing. I would say that it's harder for creatives to make money in that way, but in the age of information, I think that getting a movie around and spreading the word about a movie is infinitely easier than what it was back when the internet wasn't around to do that for you. It's, you know, spoken word, not exactly spoken, I wouldn't say, communication, rather, of interests is what spreads other interests of media itself, you know. And I think if we can get this movie to be talked about on the internet, it could spread. If that happens, I think it could spread faster than we could ever have made it spread without the internet.
Yeah, the ending is going to be a big surprise. I think that it's going to take a lot of people by surprise or by storm, and then how the movie goes out is just pure chaos. So for anybody who loves, you know, a really good gripping tale followed by mass shootings and chaos, they're going to love it.
You heard it here first. If you love violence and gore, make sure you follow Altenweg movies.
Absolutely.
Dude, Ryan, I love that you brought up the thing about having a second release day, because I was sitting here chomping at the bit to bring this point up at some point, which was dude, there's a clip that goes around online where Matt Damon gets stopped on some like red carpet, and the interviewer asks him, like, why are all the top grossing movies either like rehashed IP or sequels or like franchises? And his direct answer was, one of the biggest reasons for the decline in the film industry is the loss of the DVD sale. And he said exactly that. He said movie distributors could take a bigger gamble on a fresh movie or a unique IP or something like that, because even if it didn't make all its money back in theaters, it could have a second life on home video. And now with the shortened theater screening times and the straight to streaming releases, the distributors have to, if they're going to gamble their money, they feel as though they can only gamble on things that are a sure bet. And us as the consumer are proving to them, when we only go to the theater to see James Bond, or when we go to see Star Wars, or when we go to see, you know, whatever, fucking Godzilla, but you don't go see the fucking Amelie, or you don't go see Roma, or, you know, whatever, like, and it's tough because we're not getting some of those kind of, like, there's a lot of movies that I want to see that's like, I have to go to Coolidge in Boston, or I have to go to the Brattle, or I used to go to Luna Theater, rest in peace, you know, like, it's not super convenient for some people to get to a repertory theater or something like that. And so it's like, man, I just feel like you make some, I think Zach, you said it, that the barrier to entry is so much lower that while it makes it easier for a good filmmaker to get an opportunity, it also makes the film consumer or the art consumer have to dig through a lot more trash, and the likelihood of them having the patience to get to your thing is much more limited than where there's a higher benchmark for you to succeed over. So that's why I'm so torn, and that's why people always say long live physical media in the chat, because our record label like thrives off of CDs and things like that. And so that's been a big thing that we've always pushed. And I've tried to adapt to the streaming world more and become more understanding of how it benefits the artist. And I definitely use it, you know, like all my music's on Spotify. Like I'm not like streaming adverse by any means, but I do struggle to allow it to be the primary thing. Like I don't think I could ever not put out a CD or a tape or a vinyl or something like that of an album that I do. And I think that that's like, people put out movies and they don't even care if people can own it or not. It's like they're just like, I made the movie, it's there, it exists, I got my vision into the world, and hopefully people find it. But it used to be like a sense of pride that, like, imagine you go into somebody's home and your movie is on their shelf or your CD is on their collection, or in their car, you sit in their car and their CD's on the fucking dashboard or whatever. And it's like, it's a different sense of gratitude and appreciation for your art that long outweighs the like one view count from somebody sitting at home in front of their like screen to pull it up. You know, it's like I like when I heard about the Chunkies thing, dude, like that was the thing that instantly was like, I have to meet this guy. I want to know everything he's fucking doing. Like, because Chunkies was such a visceral movie thing for me. Like, even as it became a little more run down and a little dirtier and the seats were fucked up and they weren't always screening the best stuff, I still went there every week because that was the Nashua movie theater, and they would play something and I'd go see it. Even if it was $6, I could go to a fancy theater that's going to play the same movie for the next 2 weeks. But it's like those kind of theaters like matter so much because they were showing shit when nobody else was. You know, it's like, as all your other local theaters died and you could only depend on an AMC, and I'm not trying to like be an AMC basher because obviously I go there too, but it's just nice to have options of like places to support the people that are showing your movie, as well as like a place to experience it. And all of those things have just become so limited. So the first thing that's always like my first memory is like, man, this guy, the first thing he did to show his movie was host a literal screening at a movie theater. Like, it's harder to take much more pride in your work than something like that.
Yeah, we're going to do it again, Cody. So this time you're going to be there watching it with us.
I know. I'm ecstatic, dude. Man, I'm so grateful for all of your guys' time tonight. I've fucking have kept you on here so long, so I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I know it's getting late.
It's been awesome though, dude. We appreciate it.
Likewise.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Super grateful for you guys. So we're thinking Halloween 2026 is going to be when the house is going to be hopefully available, screening, available to watch, all of that.
Absolutely. Yep.
And so
yeah, we're going to stream. We're going to have it just like we'll have Brotherly Love, you know. So we'll have the website. You'll be able to go on there. You'll be able to check everything out. But check out all the other things too. We're going to have the actor bios, like I mentioned, on there, and you know, take a look at the people behind the screen, because you know there's a lot of talent there. So I just want to make sure they're appreciated.
Absolutely. Real quick, I just want to say, Ryan has some music available on YouTube. So if you see this link that's scrolling across, and we'll throw it in the chat here too. Let me copy this real quick. I'm going to post this in the comments so that you guys can all go and check this out. I haven't even heard it yet, so I'm excited to check it out too. Ryan, can you tell us a little about what everybody's going to hear when they check this link out after?
Thanks. I actually I was going to mention that in one of my spiels, but yeah, I completely forgot. I had a whole music channel.
DVDs.
It's basically what I'm into is ambient, mellow tracks, what I have on there is 2 singles that are acoustic tracks that I wrote. One I wrote 2 years ago, and the other I wrote 1 year ago. So hopefully I'll write another this year. But yeah, it completely flew over my head when we were talking about it before in pre-stream.
No worries. Well, I'm glad you sent it anyway. So make sure you guys check that out. I just dropped the link in the comments on both YouTube and Facebook, so you can check that out. And our man Zach actually has his own YouTube channel where he's been putting his portfolio of work. That's No Vignettes Productions 1115. Zach, can you tell us a little bit about what you have on your channel there, like what people can expect? Oh, I think you're muted.
Yep, you're muted, Zach. There you go.
Yeah, so that's a series of like short films I've done over like the past 10 years, anything from like, some dark comedies to like thrillers to a little bit of both. And, they range anywhere from like 5-10 minutes up to like 40 minutes, an hour. And, I think there's probably like 6 or 7 up there, from like past decade and a half of, from when I first started making movies to kind of like up until the last one, Your Disease in the Parking Lot, which, I feel like, a little bit more experience and, knowledge of the craft went into, but, I love all of them. I feel like people will enjoy all of them, whatever you feel like checking out.
I love that. I'm a big YouTube proponent over here. So after you guys have all hopefully liked and subscribed to Hellhound Publishing, please check out No Vignettes Productions, and the link should be popping up in the chat momentarily. And as you've been seeing across our banner all night tonight, make sure you guys on Instagram are following Altenweg_movies. They're going to be posting all the updates from the house there, as well as the upcoming website that they're going to be launching soon. Mark, what is the website for people to watch Brotherly Love? Because I didn't know there was a website for it until you mentioned it tonight on the pod.
Yes, it's thebrotherlylovemovie.com. So to say that again, it's thebrotherlylovemovie.com.
All right. And you guys should see that in the comments momentarily too. Make sure you guys cook up some popcorn and check that out. Pull up the movie on your TV in your living room. Don't watch it on a computer like a bitch. Watch it on a TV. Make some popcorn. Order Domino's. Have that shit delivered in less than 30 minutes. Yell at the guy if they're late. Make it a real blockbuster affair. You know what I'm saying?
Shout out to Blockbuster. We haven't heard that in a while.
Oh man, you hear it in my house all the time. So I'm an asshole about it. You know what? I actually, on dogs, I'm pretty sure I think I actually still have my Blockbuster card on my person right now. I shit you not.
That's awesome. I think there's actually still one left someplace in the U.S.
It's in Bend, Oregon.
Is that where it is?
Yeah. Of course I don't.
One way to go to get a movie.
Straight up, dude. It must be at home somewhere, but I literally still have my friggin', it's from like 2006 or 2007, because I used to have a Blockbuster right on my street, so I would literally walk there as a kid and like rent my movies on Friday and put them in my little 13-inch TV VCR combo joint. Like that was life as a kid.
Yeah, that was awesome.
What about Hollywood Video? Anyone?
Oh, hell yeah.
That place?
I had a membership there too.
We had Hollywood Video, Video Thunder, Video Matt.
Crazy.
I'll be here for another fucking 3 hours. You want me to start talking about video stores and movie theaters? I'll be off and running, guys. But dude, thank you guys so much. I seriously can't thank you enough for all of your time tonight. I'm so excited to see all the stuff that you guys do with the house. I'm already anxious for next year for it to come out. guys, make sure you check out all the links that we posted in the comments tonight. And yeah, thank you guys so much, dude. I appreciate all of you guys tremendously. I gotta kick you out one by one. So Zach,
thanks for everything,
Thank
Cody.
you,
You're the
Cody.
best, man.
You're awesome. Thank you.
Brian, thank you so much too. It's been awesome having all of you guys here tonight. So I look forward to seeing more of what you got going on, and check out the music later, and best of luck with the production. Mark, thank you so much for coming on. I know we've had this on the books for a bit. It was a nice surprise to bring your crew on as well. I'm so
awesome.
excited for you. I'm so excited for the movie. Super proud of all the effort you're putting into making this thing a reality, all the work that you're doing, all the time you're carving aside to make this thing come to life, dude. I'm always inspired, man. So thank you for sharing your time and story with us. And I'm looking forward to connecting sooner than later. Make sure you guys are following on Instagram at Altenweg_movies, and make sure you check out the Brotherly Love movie in the meantime. And that's coming Halloween 2026. Much love, brother.
We can't thank you enough, Cody. You're the best. And I just want to give a shout out. I can't stop watching it, man. The Curse King video rocks, dude. That thing is killer.
Damn, dude. That was my first music video ever, dude.
I tell you what, man, I'm hooked. It's the best. That stuff rocks. Keep pumping it out, brother. I love it.
Absolutely, dude. Make sure you check out Giant Steps in Gate City is the new album that me and Byron just put out in October last year. It's on everywhere you listen to music, YouTube, everywhere you go, on our channel right here, Hellhound Publishing. Mark, I'm going to catch you soon. Thank you so much for your time. At Altenweg.
Love you, brother. Peace.
For movies. Much love, bro.
Yep, I'll be in touch. We got lots to talk about.
Cheers.
All right, brother. Peace. Thanks again. See you.
There we go. Man, thank you so much to everybody that tuned in tonight. It was great to be back on the show. Like I said at the top of the show, I'm super, super sorry about last week's episode cancellation. My guest had to cancel like 2 hours before. Don't want to half-ass anything with you guys. I put a lot of time into putting questions together and formatting the episodes and trying to write my reviews of things and figuring out all the different events and trying to I want to put things together that really impact you, that matter, that you can take something away from. And so if I feel like I can't give you a great episode, I would rather pull the plug than to just give you something half-ass. And I know that killed a lot of our momentum. I know a bunch of you guys reached out to me and were trying to figure out what was going on because the stream popped up and the episode never aired. And so I just wanted to clear the air on all that. I know we did lose a little bit of viewership from this week to our previous episode, and I know we had some technical difficulties in that episode, so it's been a trying month, but nevertheless, I really appreciate you guys sticking this thing out with me. You guys always popping up in the chat, tuning in for the episodes, asking questions for the guests. I really appreciate it more than I can say, and I always say this is like the thing that I'm just learning how to do as I go. Sometimes my laptop will freeze or shut down on me, or one of my monitors will die, or something will happen, and I just have to go with the flow. And the more you guys keep supporting, the more it's enabling me to kind of up my game here and up my equipment. And as the weeks go on, I'm learning how to better produce the show. And so I just appreciate you guys rocking with me. We got some really special episodes still lined up. We have some episodes that have passed in the last month or so that are really great. I'm excited for everything we have coming up. I'm going to announce the next episode within the next couple days, if not sooner. In the meantime, make sure you check out our last 2 episodes. We did an episode with Chef Maddie Marquis. That was an amazing episode, very emotional, very inspiring life story. And then the week after that, we had the musician Bluntsworth on the show. and he told us all about his unique approach to music and art and how he thrives and survives amidst figuring all of this stuff out and touring and doing his own records. So been really lucky to have some great guests on the show, and we've got even more great guests lined up. Big thank you to all of you guys that have been supporting. I'm going to have some new music coming soon. I will say over the past weekend, I just debuted my new live performance with a live band. So right now I have a 2-piece live accompaniment, and we're actually going to be getting a bass player soon and really growing it. So that's going to be another thing that you'll start seeing and hearing more frequently. I'm going to really start mixing it up with the shows. Of course, Cody and Byron still have a bunch of music in the can, and we have a bunch of shows that we're still going to do and some stuff that we've built up together over the years that we're going to keep doing. But we're also going to bring in the live band shows as well and start doing those intermittently. I'm going to start doing some throwback shows where I perform some like albums worth of material. I'm going to start trying to do, I want to be more present in the lives, in the listenership of the people that really give a shit about me being there. And so here's to me making a concerted effort to really start carrying the flag like I should have been for a long time, and stop finding excuses to let things pass me by. I'm working on trying to produce more music videos for myself. I'm gonna try and work with some other people to help me get those done as well. We're gonna do videos for all of the Giant Step stuff, me and Byron's last album, all the new stuff, a bunch of back catalog stuff. We're really gonna keep pushing this thing, but I just wanted to thank you guys a lot for holding it down and supporting while we figure out where we're going, what the direction is, all of that. Ryan said it best. Much love to you, my brother. Hellhound till we're underground. Until next Monday, I'll see you guys then. Preach.
This program was written, produced, and created for live stream broadcast by Cody Pope. To learn more about Cody Pope and Storytellers Creative Services, please visit www.hellhoundpublishing.com/services.
Cody here. Thank you so much for being part of another episode of Cody Central with me. If you'd like to support the program and help me sustain and grow the show, please consider checking out the QR codes below, which include my latest album release, our Patreon channel, as well as general donation links to help us offset some of our programming costs, such as our streaming platform and studio rent. I've also launched a fundraising initiative directly through the Hellhound Publishing website. For any of the increments shown, you can promote your event, service, album, product, merchandise, podcast, business, or whatever it is you have, in addition to a number of other benefits. Check out the website for more details and an easy way to contribute to the cause.
Okay.